This podcast is sponsored by Highclere Castle Gin, born from a castle, renowned for its parties and acclaimed for its taste. Highclere Castle Gin is the winner of over 200 international spirit awards with a triumphant 100-point score. Pick up a bottle for yourself at highclarecastlegin.com.
Welcome back to The Week in TV, your go-to breakdown for the hottest TV dramas of the week. I'm Christina Almeida, manager of SpoilerTV, here with my co-host and sister, Susanna, who's going to be with me each week discussing all things TV. Each week, we'll have a special guest with us, including some celebs from your favorite shows. Today, we have our cousin Ashley with us. Say hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Who is going to help us break down Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story, and she also has some insights into Grey's Anatomy. Monsters has been nothing short of a hot topic this week. We've got a packed episode for you. We're covering the premieres of Doctor Odyssey, Grey's Anatomy, 911, and we're also discussing Monsters. So before we start, though, it's really important that we send love and prayers to all of those that were affected by Hurricane Helene. So this includes Western North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And we really hope that these areas get the help and support that they need soon. And if anyone can do anything to help, please pitch in if you can.
They can message me on Instagram.
Oh,
I have all the details since I
Susanna
live there.
actually lives in North Carolina, but she lives in Raleigh, so wasn't hit quite like it was in the West. All right, let's kick off with some TV news. First up, Doctor Odyssey made its debut on ABC, and wow, did it spark conversation. Susanna, what did you think?
Well, I love Joshua Jackson, Pacey, Dawson's Creek. Watched him on Dr. Death. He did a great job. Was looking forward to watching this, and it was great. The graphics were amazing. It was stunning. They had a massive budget, you can tell, but I'm not sure how the writing went this first time around. I felt like they wanted to pack too much information into one episode. They had 4 medical emergencies, and then the way they handled Philip Hasso's character, Avery, was disappointing. She's a qualified nurse practitioner, and then she gets passed over for the head job on the ship, and then within the same episode, she falls for Joshua Jackson's Dr. Max Bankman within hours. So it's just. I don't know. The writing felt lazy. There was no follow-up to her feelings, and it just jumped right into that relationship.
Agreed. I felt like it was kind of hokey, and they were trying too hard to pack in drama. But let's dive deeper into Doctor Odyssey. So the premise is great. Medical crisis on a luxury cruise ship miles from a nearest hospital. Totally sounds like a great idea for a show, but the execution wasn't there. So I think they were trying to give us that Love Boat feel with perfect passengers, the ocean views, and everything seems like a fantasy. But the Love Boat, for those that know the Love Boat, and not a lot of people remember the Love Boat. Ashley, do you know what the Love Boat is?
No idea.
Yeah, this generation has no idea. But the Love Boat offered light-hearted romance and comedy. And Doctor Odyssey tried to raise the stakes by introducing medical emergencies. So, Susanna, what did you think of the mix of drama and medical emergencies on Doctor Odyssey?
Well, to me, it felt like the show couldn't decide if it wanted to be a serious medical drama or a soap opera. There was just too much of that all in one episode. It had that Love Boat vibe but the relationships felt rushed and a little contrived. Don't you think?
Yeah, totally. They're trying way too hard. Like you said, they crammed 4 medical emergencies in the first episode. And I think they were just, one of them was clearly for shock factor, like the broken penis. And then we're introduced to Avery, who's this strong, ambitious woman. And then, she hardly puts up a fight. She's not even mad for the fact that Max is coming on the ship. And
it felt like a missed opportunity. I wanted to know more about her character, but she turns from being professionally slighted to a romantic interest way too quickly. Like it just went way too fast. It would have been nice if they could take that along through the whole season, not in just one episode. It's almost like we're watching The Love Boat with more life or death stakes. The romance was too fast, and it reminded me of those rapid hookups on the old Love Boat show.
Well, totally. It totally felt more like a soap opera. But the other thing I thought, I mean, I have to know, like the dance breakout on the beach. What was that?
I have
Like
no
when that
idea.
came on, I'm like, as I'm watching this pilot, I'm thinking things just got from bad to worse. I wanted to give it a chance. I tried, I really did. And I mean, I'm probably going to watch another episode just to see if it gets better, but I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I think if they want the show to stand out, they've got to figure out how to balance the medical stuff with character development, which they didn't do a great job in this episode. Otherwise, it's going to be a love boat with defibrillators, honestly.
Well, let's give it a few more episodes and then we'll see where it goes. Fingers crossed it gets its sea legs sometime soon.
Yes.
So moving into Grey's Anatomy, which this is speaking of shows that have lost their way. Honestly, I feel like this show has run its course. I mean, how many times can they do the same storyline over and over? The constant drama, the near-death experiences, the endless love triangles. I mean, it just seems like it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty recycled storyline, and I feel like they brought back Meredith Grey because they were losing viewership to begin with, and this is their last hurrah to try to get the viewers back up. But I don't know. You can't bring in a main character and do the same thing over and over and over again. People just get bored and want to move on.
Well, and then they passed up Station 19, got canceled,
Mm-hmm.
and it had so much life in it. And the best part about Station 19 was it dealt with a lot of social issues that
Yeah.
were really important to people. And after 7 seasons, they said, sorry, you're done. And yet here we are with Grey's, and it's just the same thing over and over. What do you think, Ashley? What did you think? You've been a long time viewer.
Yeah, it's just like so predictable. You already know what's gonna happen. The storylines are basically the same. It needs to end. It's time for a new show, and that
Yeah.
they need to go elsewhere. These actors.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing to me. The other thing that blew up over the summer was that the show was renewed, and then they announced that they're not going to be able to have the actors on for every episode. The main
Yeah,
actors can't afford
that's
to pay them.
crazy.
Yeah,
Then
so
they
they need to
spent
go elsewhere.
exactly, and then they spent all summer hiring on more actors.
Yeah.
It's like it's crazy. It's done. It's time to go.
Yeah, I don't think they know what they want to do anymore. I mean, they're trying to save money because they're losing viewership, but at the same token, Ashley's right. I mean, these are longtime actors on these series, and there's other shows that are coming out that they could probably use them full time on. And it'll just allow them to go and do something different with their career.
I agree. So let's move into the 911 season premiere, which was very much people were just dying for this one to start. And this season went with a big bee swarm attack that kind of came out of that 70s flick, The Swarm.
Yeah.
Last year was kind of out of Poseidon Adventure, and this is like millions of bees attacking Los Angeles.
So one thing is I'm a 911 longtime viewer, and I will say they do an amazing job either bringing real life things that have already happened in the world into the show or things that could possibly happen, which is why they keep viewers. It's just realistic. It was chaotic right from the start, but what really set the stage was the two flying vehicles crashing in midair because of the bees. That's crazy. This is how the episode opened. And from there, they rewind to how it unfolded, like they normally do on these on 911. They tied in Athena's return to work after the trauma she faced last season. She's got this intense storyline where she has to escort the man who murdered her fiance, Dennis Jenkins, who's now helping the authorities with a bigger case. So things don't go smoothly as you can possibly imagine.
Or Athena. I feel like she can't catch a break.
No.
Her story is already super intense. She's dealing with this past trauma. Now she's escorting this guy. It's classic 911 throwing her into one life-altering, threatening situation after another.
And then there's Buck. I love Buck. He's clashing with his new captain. Gerard is just awful. He's tough on everyone, but Buck is really struggling with the new change, especially when they're trying to save a mother and daughter trapped in their car surrounded by bees. I loved that scene. It's a classic 911 emergency with Buck always disobeying orders to save the day.
It really highlighted his heroic nature and his defiance, and he's
Mm-hmm.
always going to push back when he thinks it's right. But I think that's why he's such a likable character.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, classic 911, two huge cliffhangers.
Yes.
Gerard suffers a major accident at the station, and then Buck's trying to save him. And then Athena is on a plane with Dennis, and the bee swarm causes a crash. So now Athena is in danger yet again. Poor Athena. I have to believe she'll be okay, obviously, but
I know. I mean, every time you tell her to go on a vacation and get away from her job, but every time she goes on a vacation, it turns into a disaster. So there's no point in even saying that. But
yeah.
I'm excited how they're going to resolve all this chaos this season. The bees are just the beginning of what's shaping up to be another wild and incredible season. Love this show.
I'm glad that ABC picked it up, and
Me too.
I think it's going to have a lot of seasons left to come.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's move into the hot topic of the week, Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story. Ashley has been following this closely. She watched the series. What are your thoughts on how they tackled this infamous true crime case?
Well, honestly, I had no idea about this, the Menendez brothers before watching this. So, with that being said, I think the characters, like the actors who played Lyle and Erik, they did a really good job portraying the story, and they really brought the brothers' story to life.
Yeah, Cooper and Nicholas Alexander Chavez were amazing. You're right. And I felt like the show, I also watched about half of it, but I really felt like the show didn't just focus on the crime, but about the years of emotional abuse from their father, and it was tough to watch. But again, the performances were fantastic. Both of the actors portrayed Lyle and Erik with vulnerability. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. You almost start to understand like why they did it, even though like what they did was awful. But I feel like the brothers have served enough time. You know, if Gypsy Rose can get out free, even if she didn't pull the trigger or anything, but same story.
Yep.
I think that they also deserve to be free. They also spent years apart, just rehabilitating themselves in at different prisons, not even at the same one. So I think they deserve to get out. It'll be cool if they do.
Yeah, whether or not they were abused, I mean, people have their
Yeah.
opinions, but I mean, there's so much evidence, family members who
Yeah.
said that the brothers told them that it happened. And I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I can't imagine family lying like that.
Well, one cousin lived with them for a
Correct,
time being. So, I
correct.
mean, she got the inside scoop of what actually went on in that house.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not you believe it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. They've done a lot of good work in prison. And one thing that I liked was Cooper Coke, right?
Yes.
Actually went and visited the brothers with Kim Kardashian. And he was really moved after speaking with them. And the brothers actually released a statement. It was, I believe, Erik that released a statement, quite upset, saying that the show was dishonest and inaccurate. And one of their biggest complaints, and I agree, was that they weren't consulted about the show. I mean, with Dahmer, when they did Dahmer, he wasn't around. Okay, that makes so you can't consult him. I get that. But these brothers are alive. So you would think Ryan Murphy would have wanted to speak to them. But then this week he comes out and says he has no interest in speaking with them, that his role is to tell the story, not to advocate for them. And then he even claimed his show made the brothers relevant again, which many found to be an arrogant remark. What do you guys think about that?
Super arrogant. I feel like for us 80s babies or 70s babies that knew the story, they're always relevant. Their name's always going to come up and you're going to know what they did. They're notorious for it, regardless if they put out a show or not. The other thing that got me like really annoyed with his statement was, you want to put out a show about two people who committed this heinous crime, but you're going to use secondhand information from media, any type of magazines, or like from different people, but you're not going to go straight to the source. Like, that is a little interesting to me. And secondly, if you don't feel like you ever want to talk to them, then why make a story about them? You
Exactly.
know, like I think he was just in it for the notoriety and the monetary value of it, honestly.
Yeah. And it raises questions about true crime storytelling, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
when we watch true crime stories like Dateline or
Yeah.
2020, they're interviewing relatives.
Yeah.
They try and interview the actual people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's factual. And
Yeah.
yet this kind of just seems to glamorize. There's also a big a lot of it was questionable, especially the incestuous
Mm-hmm.
relationship between the brothers. Um, there's actual sexual abuse advocates that find that very disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, thinking that just because these boys were sexual abused, that would make them incestuous with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just things that just did not need to be part of this retelling.
Yeah.
So,
So it's funny because Ashley, you didn't know anything about the Menendez brothers before
no,
you
Ashley
started
wasn't
watching the
born.
show. Yeah, so you pretty much got an intro to them. Have you looked up anything in regards to the trial or anything that happened in the past to see if things on the show have been legitimate?
I haven't looked anything up. There has been a lot of like TikTok posts. I mean, you can't believe everything on TikTok, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of comparables. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to believe. There is the new series coming out on October 7th,
Yes.
with the real story. So that will be cool to see how different that will be.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm happy that Netflix is doing that. I'm happy that they're bringing out the real story,
Mhm.
just so that people understand. Because, there are going to be some people like Ashley who weren't born or were kids when this came out and they don't know the story, who are
Yep.
just going to take this at face value, not realizing that this was just based upon Ryan Murphy's retelling
View.
of the situation.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
um, I'm happy that they'll um be doing that. But yeah, it definitely raises questions about the ethics of true crime storytelling. And if people are alive, my view is if the people are alive to tell the story, I think you need to interview them at least.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
One thing that has happened that I've noticed, you know me, I'm a very big true crime buff. I watch it all day, every day. Is they are now re-airing on Oxygen True Crime some of the old Menendez brothers Datelines, 2020, Snapped, where they're telling the story of them so that people do have something to compare the actual Netflix series to.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that that's the case. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I can't wait to watch the rest and to see what I'm in for. But we're going to be following this one closely, and I'm sure we'll probably have more to talk about it next week. Um,
Yes,
because it just
definitely.
seems to be a never-ending saga. But again, I have to shout out Nicholas Alexander Chavez and Cooper Hoke because they were amazing. Like,
Mhm.
and Nicholas Alexander Chavez was a soap opera actor. He was on General Hospital.
Oh,
So
was he?
yeah. So
Oh, wow.
this he's too good for soaps. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I hope that his soap opera days are behind him, to be honest.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to mention just before, I know there will be some One Chicago people out listening to this podcast this week, and Chicago Med and Chicago Fire were great. As usual, Chicago PD, on the other hand, Tracy Spiridakos left. Her absence was definitely felt. And can we please stop making Voight-centric episodes? It's so done. It's so done. That's all I got to say about Chicago.
Maybe they're going to be like Grey's. Time to move on.
I don't know. It's season 12. They have a new showrunner who's questionable at best, so I guess we'll see.
Yep, for sure.
So yeah, I guess that's it for this week's TV breakdown. We've got some really great shows coming back this week. Law and Order and Law and Order SVU are premiering this week. So is the hit NBC show Found. That one will be back this week. So lots of great, awesome things to check out this week. You can check out our website on our social media pages for the weekly breakdown of what you can watch this week. And you can, if you're not already following us, you should be following us on Twitter at SpoilerTV, on Instagram at SpoilerTV Photos, and Facebook is SpoilerTV. and all the latest TV news. One thing that we should mention is we made the decision now to start covering reality TV. And that was done with a lot of purposeful discussion. But the reality is the TV landscape is changing, and we've got to embrace it. We just have to do that. And so, we always want to give the audience what it wants. And that was something that our SpoilerTV viewers have been wanting. And so we've listened, and doesn't mean we're going to put less importance on our scripted television. That's always going to be our number one focus, but we are going to be embracing reality TV. So you'll start seeing that coverage on the site this week. So please follow us. And we'll be back again next Monday. And that's it for us. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.